CIO News and a new series of Securing What Matters, an exclusive fireside chat with our CISO community, powered by McAfee and Inspira. I'm Khushbu Soni, your host for the broadcast and the moderator for our session today. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, which is cionews.co.in, and our CIO News LinkedIn page. Let me dive in introducing our guest for today. We have Sarvanand Thangavelu, also known as Sara in the industry, the Senior Vice President Enterprise IT at Hinduja Global Solutions. Sarvanand brings decades of experience and expertise in advertising consulting, artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, enterprise and cloud computing, platform development, global delivery, technology transformation, etc. He has a proven track record of delivering large-scale, complex projects, saving millions of dollars, effort, and time for some of the top clients across industry. Sara differentiates him with the ability to analyze key business drivers and develop strategies to optimize, enhance top line and bottom line. Sara has worked for various organizations and well-known brands such as Cognizant, Times Group, Siemens Technology, SAP, and many more. It's a pleasure to have you, Sara. Along with me today, we also have our next guest is Sadanand Patil. He is the experienced sales engineer with a demonstrated history of working with cybersecurity industry with a strong pre-sales professional skill in the unified threat management, proxy, email security, DLP, endpoint, and encryption. Sadanand is passionate in learning new technology and enjoys his work as consultant to provide right security solution to the partners and to the customers. Welcome, Sadanand.
Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We also have DK Srivastava. He's the Vice President Sales at Inspira Enterprise India Private Limited. DK has 23 years of rich experience in enterprise security solution, working with the top enterprises in India. He has successfully helped customers transform their cybersecurity by partnering with the top OEMs coupled with services. Welcome, DK.
Thank you, Khushbu.
So without further ado, I would want to start with our fireside chat, asking the first question to you, Mr. Sarvanand. With this current unprecedented challenges that we have been facing since 2020, how has your team handled the situation, and how did pandemic affect the way you think about security?
Thank you, Khushbu. It's a very interesting question. This pandemic was something that was not a planned one or a trained one for people to, react to it in a, the way they have done. So for us, it caught us by surprise. But just before the pandemic started, as part of the organizational initiatives, we started equipping our teams with their devices which they could remote or work from anywhere, and that kind of helped a lot. More importantly, from our business itself, we deal with multiple customers, and each customer has a set of requirements and so on. So we had a very structured setup in terms of the IT infrastructure to deliver these services. We have two types of key delivery options to our customers. One is called the front office workers, who basically log into an IP switch and then take calls on behalf of the customers and deliver solutions. And then there is a back office which kind of works on application, processing the information that is captured by the front office and then delivering output to our customers. And then, of course, there is the shared services, which is the backbone of the company, which allows various functions to work. As soon as the pandemic started, we had to move away from an on-site or an office premise-based operation to a completely remote operation. Because of the fact that we had to deliver this and there was not much of a choice left, we were all asked to work from wherever, but ensure that we are able to connect and work. So what became very important was to set up this basic infrastructure of making machines available, desktops, laptops, and network equipment available, along with the necessary software. Now, the only difference that happened between what we did before and during the pandemic was setting up these secure network connections. Earlier everything would happen from a specific premise, but then the moment it moved out and it went to people's homes, then obviously you needed to provide a environment which was very safe to deal with our customer requirements and work on that. So we had to do that. So we came up with a couple of solutions which would help. So some were in-house developed to kind of literally track every asset that HGS had given out in the market and ensuring that people are connecting and using it effectively. And there is control on the software and that is installed on the machine, and then it is worked with. So we had this situation where we had to make sure that the business continues and delivery happens without major hitch. So what it did in terms of the planning for the future, it obviously showed us certain areas that we needed to focus on. Basically, we didn't have these applications available on the internet for every one of our colleagues to work with, because they are working in a very controlled environment. They would have to, come out, they submit their phones when they get into that location to work, and then they come out and then they are having access to these applications outside. So we had to make sure that the critical business applications which people need to use were deployed on the internet and they were accessible to them. We had to ensure we could deploy some mobile apps which were required for them to submit their timesheets and stuff like that. And we had to make sure that we maintained security and tracking of each and every transaction that happened during this period. So it kind of made us look at how we can improve what we were doing rather than try to say we have to start all over again. It was not a situation which happened to create such a sudden change in the setup. So it was part of the transition. We made sure that our applications are on the cloud, made available, and then accessible to our teams. And also, very importantly, we were able to ensure that we could track each and every agent and the activity that they do on their machines and ensure compliance to what we had signed up with our customers.
Right. Very rightly said. I think since last year, every organization's first priority last year has been business continuity. And now that we know, while doing business continuity and focusing on that, organizations started moving to digital and started moving to cloud extensively. Since then, cybersecurity has become one of the key priorities for all the CIOs and CISOs across. So I wanted to understand, how are you prioritizing your resources and budgets to build secure architecture at Hinduja Global Solutions?
So a good question. I think if I have to answer this, it's not just a point answer, but something to look back at what we have as a strategy. I joined Hinduja Global about 2 years back, in December 2019, and then you suddenly start to see the changes that have happened and everything starting this way. But before I came in, I was told that you will have to do a certain set of transformations within the IT organization. So one of the things was to ensure that we have some focus for the organization, goals that can drive some of these transformations. So we started with this journey of setting up the center of expertise. So we created pooled resources with the specific skills and which could be enhanced to support the artificial intelligence and application enablement as one COE, then cloud enablement and performance as another COE, and then cyber security and as another COE, plus customer experience as another COE. So which would allow us to basically start to have very focused approach towards each of these areas. So when you look at it, starting all the way from the customer experience and then going back down, it is very important to understand how each of these is connected, from the customer experience perspective, then the control perspective, then scalability and performance. So you had multiple of this, and you could not just address one area alone, right? So we looked at this as an approach and then started working on it. So before I came in, about 60% to 70% of the in-house applications were on an on-premise data center. So we started our cloud journey moving down to the cloud. So we operate on 2 different cloud platforms, both Amazon as well as Microsoft Azure. And then we started working towards making the application transformation, not just by moving the infrastructure alone, but also making the applications cloud native. So we introduced mobile apps which allowed applications to be available on mobile devices, taking into consideration all the security aspects of it. So we went in for this vulnerability and penetration test assessments for each of our applications that will be available on the net. We leveraged what we had already invested in terms of the network security, which is predominantly focused on the on-prem, and then moving into the cloud. But I would say there is a lot more distance to go on that front in terms of making it the security aspect overall covering 360 degrees and making it seamless between an on-premise and the cloud. At this time, we are still hybrid, but down the line, we would look at a full-fledged cloud-based application environment, which will allow us to leverage the best of the technologies and make sure we support our customers.
So glad to hear that, moving digital is your motto, and, moving everything to cloud is going to be your next thing. So I also wanted to know, from a security leader perspective, how do you see the buzz around Secure Access Service Edge, the SASE, basically? How do you see the buzz around SASE?
Yeah, this is a very loaded question, I would say. In the market, everybody talks about security as something in a way they understood, coming from where the systems and infrastructure are, and what is the way you need to access your application or what you need to deliver. This SaaS would, kind of work in a way which is customized, required to be customized for each and every one of our customers. Just a moment, please. Sorry. So what has really happened in this is there is a definite need. Do everybody call it as secure access and secure service edge? Sorry, maybe not. The terminology has not caught up with it, depending on, the person you ask. Somebody may say yes. Somebody who's been working on it may be feeling very comfortable answering that. Somebody who's not thought about it, or, who've been doing very basic work in terms of application consolidation and migration or transformation, depending on where they are in the journey, would tell you a different story. For us, we believe that yes, it is absolutely required stuff. We need to look at it both from the application transformation as well as the infrastructure transformation. It's not one thing versus the other, or it is not something that you can unilaterally come back and declare that today I have embraced this technology and I would now make everything work from there. You have to go back in terms of understanding your user base, the applications that you use, the purpose of these applications, the availability of the application, the performance of the application, the security aspects of it, and then say, okay, from where do I put endpoint security? Where do I put data loss protection plan? How do I ensure that my firewalls are configured? How do I control access to my applications? And how do I deliver, at the end of the day, a high performance environment where people can use it? So when we started with this mobile applications and authentication, single factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, and so on, we started realizing what all we need to do. In fact, getting to this kind of a setup, right? So we are now working on a plan. We are looking at how we will transform. So this transformation happens in layers. So basically, you need to get your first infrastructure part settled. Make sure that they become move to the cloud, and then you need to think about how do you transform your applications to become cloud native in terms of leveraging the services, whether you should just use the infrastructure only for scalability, or you should look at using the services and so on. And each of these also has a certain components of this SaaS coming in. So whether it is threat protection, advanced detection, and correction of errors and prevention and so on. So you have various aspects of it that comes in depending on the type of environment you have and the choice of components that you use to transform your application. So in my opinion, it is not a one size that fits all, but we need to look at it at application wise, look at the transformation, have a path, but overall we need to actually plan for how it will be 2 years down the line and so on. So with that in mind, you should start planning both your budgets, investments, and support it along with transformation. Because today there was people are asking me questions. When you deploy applications, in how many days and how many weeks will it be live, right? So nobody is willing to wait for a long project. Nobody is willing to wait for you to do a transformation on the back end. Nobody is willing for a downtime. So given all of that, your challenges are very different. When I worked in SAP and when I came from that environment, it was a very different game, centralized, though the technology was client server architecture deployed over WAN and how they connected. But there were certain policies that you could do, downtimes you could afford and then convert. But then with all of them moving onto the cloud, the downtime aspect becomes something that does not exist or, cannot be taken for granted. So you need to work your way around this. And for that, the only way out is adopting technologies of SaaS, making sure that they are available in the right time and the right place, and ensuring that your application transition is seamless so that you do not end up with a situation where there is disruption to the business. That people can't afford. And the success of the CIO actually depends on how efficient you are in making this transformation. And it can't be done without partners. And that's basically what we are doing. So every provider is a partner. We have people whom we work with together to make this happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great thoughts, Saravanan. Sadanand, if you can also share your thoughts, since you've been interacting with a lot of security leaders and CIOs and CISOs, so if you can share your insights on SASE and what are the things security leaders must consider while evaluating SASE architecture for their business.
Yeah, so thanks, Kushbu, for this question. I think one of the key point which Sarvana mentioned, right? Today, when the entire conversion he mentioned, like the applications. Now, the applications which is talking about is not under the perimeter which usually were inside the customer perimeter. Now they are perimeterless. And when you look at users now that they are working from home and they are connecting through the resources which are highly distributed. They could be in the IaaS, they could be in SaaS, they could be in container, they could be back to data center, depending on where they are. It could be everywhere. Now, we need a solution which brings the device, ensure that securely connect to this application, be it wherever, be it on the cloud, be it on SaaS, be it on premise data center. Ensure that this the flow is correct, like user able to connect to that application in a secure manner. And that's where this SASE brings up. And you learn this SASE term which Gartner talks about. Gartner talks about that, the bringing your network and security into single umbrella, into single offering, so that the user have the secure cloud access to the application. And today, when I was discussing, like I saw that there's core data. When you look at this data, right, one is data which is today data is lying in that applications. With that application, right? So And the second, the device which is accessing that application. Now, when any vendor or any customer who evaluate this, when want to look at the security, I think Sarvana would agree to that. They need a solution, a security which should say that irrespective of wherever my application is, be it on IaaS, be it on SaaS, wherever it is, there is a data lying in that. Customer want to ensure that data is secure, both from the internal perspective and from the external attacks. So that's the major framework where customer are looking when then validating, or when they're looking for evaluation of any security solution, to see my data is secured, because now data is highly distributed. It should get secured from both insiders and external. And second portion of it, when you look at, right, the device which is accessing, now that device also contains that data. So one, your data lying on the application, second, data lying on your device. So there's a need to protect both data which is lying on the device and on the application, or on the server or IaaS, wherever the data lies. That plays a very important role. And customer are also evaluating how they get the visibility across that. I should get a one single pane of glass where I get the visibility across all my applications which are hosted on SaaS, which are on IaaS, wherever it is. I need to get a single visibility on a single pane of glass. As Sarvana mentioned, right, one of the important part you mentioned in this discussion, like, today, when his customer, his internal people are asking, like, they're not ready to wait. They're asking, like, I want application to be quick. So the customers are also asking for us. I can't wait for you to build security. I need, from the day I launch my application, I need a solution which should say ready to secure me. So that's the stage we are, and that's where the journey is going. It's not like, the wait where we have a downtime. Earlier, I still remember when we had an on-premise security solution. When we used to go to customer place, we used to take a downtime, then we have to implement. But that stage is not here. We customer don't anticipate downtime today. Customer says, I don't want to block my business continuity. So these are the couple of factors, like, considering the data is critical, uh, device which is connecting should be protected, and ensuring, like, there is no downtime. Because of security, there is no downtime to business continuity. So these are the couple of factors which customers should ensure while validating this SaaS security solutions.
Right. Awesome. Thanks for your insights, Sadanand. So coming back, Saravanan, another question is, in a world where, like I said, and since you are also pro cloud, everything is moving to cloud. Wouldn't it be great to have a capability that combines CASB, web protection, DLP, where you can manage all of these from one solution, from one place? So what are your thoughts around that?
See, I think there is no straightforward one-size-fits-all answer for this question. When you look at each of these areas, it's not like you can choose one over the other.
Yeah.
So that's the critical aspect that we as IT guys have to understand and make sure that each of this is made available. It all depends on how your application is transformed. So if I take a .NET application and just throw it onto a server on AWS and say, now I have moved it from my on-premise to cloud, and then it is working, then there is a very, very limited capability that I am bringing in. So where I would not possibly look at every other aspect of the technology being applied or the security being applied, other than still trying to create a very primitive security. Most of the time, people are not aware of the changes that is happening. But when I convert the application from .NET on-prem application to API-driven application, then everything else changes in terms of what you now need. How do you need to transform the technology? What are the services that you need? Is it okay for you to create it as your own, or do you want to use it as a PaaS service? And how do you want to go about it? Very simple stuff. Today you have a database where you can keep storing data. Now, whether the database should be moved to a cluster was a big question mark in olden days, when people would say, for high availability purpose, please move to a cluster, have an active passive cluster, whatever, and then work with it. But today that's all already, assume nobody even talks about it. They are now talking about, what do you do when I instantiate multiple instances and I have to work and I have to do, massive bulk updates, burst mode updates and so on. So it becomes very different in terms of how you look at this technology itself. I would say that each and every, all of whether you choose all or one or two or so will vary and depend on the maturity of your application in terms of its readiness for the cloud. So if I were to use a success factors, which is already a cloud-based solution, which is available to me, my ability to go back and do that would be more associated with how do I authenticate uh, across my users. So if I have used a single sign-on and then I have to ensure that I authenticate that users using that Active Directory to connect to them and use it, then it becomes different. Now there are layers and layers of protection built in when I use success factors as a service itself, but when I come down to my own application, then I have to add multiple more layers to it. I have to ensure, security at every layer and every endpoint. And to me, that's why it becomes very important for you to understand what is required from a transformation perspective. Look at each application, ensure there is a roadmap for how you want to transform it, and then choose the components. Now, obviously, it brings us to this question: what if all of this were available from one vendor? And what if, if this becomes kind of a place where you can get all these services together, bundled and work with? I think this is like asking a question a few years back, how would cloud be? Would you just go with one vendor? Would you make sure that everything is available? So it is akin to that. But today you already start seeing that, right? There are patterns, there are mechanisms where every vendor is coming with a different set of, activities or services which differentiate each of them. So, and there is also, you have to look at the investments that you have already made and what you are running with and how the transformation is going to affect. So depending on this combination of factors, you will have to look at, okay, where can I cover myself basically with which partner to ensure the best performance and the price of my application, and ensure that I can deliver the best to my customer at the lowest price performance with the highest security available. So based on that, we have to design each of this and look at how do we link and look at what products that we have from which of the vendors, and then see whether you want to continue with that or you want to convert your licenses and how you want to access it, where do you want to store it, and so on. In a global environment today, there is absolutely no way that you can just bring and say one cover, wrapper that will fit everything, because we are available in different geos, and each one of them, the rules are different, and our applications have to, meet both the global need as well as the requirements of the local need. And then based on that, we will look at services and the availability there to hook it up. But yes, this is a fantastic opportunity now at this time to see that we can create services which will help, supporting this globalization of security as a concept overall, and making sure that we cover as many scenarios as is possible to help all applications hook up and get converted. So we feel that it is a little bit distant way to go in terms of choosing whether it is a major vendor and then multiple minor vendors, or two major vendors to support you, and so on. So it is going to be something like that, where there could be a primary and vendor who would support you, and then you could have other specialized vendors, or you could have a primary and then a failover to another situation in case there is an issue. And then you should look at how this fits into your transformation journey so that we can make the best of it.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Saran. Vicky, your thoughts on that, and if you can also maybe highlight how is Inspira helping customers on combining all the solutions around CASB, web protection, and DLP. DK, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Khushbu. And I think Sara and Sadanand both have got very pertinent point in terms of transformation and application availability. I think going back to Sara's point, a couple of years back, cloud used to be a fancy, but now today it's a reality for all of us. And when you have the questions to ask, who's accessing your application, from where and what he's accessing, you have to answer these three basic questions. And then all your security has to be around this, because you don't have the liberty now to go back and say that your application is restricted to this office, this center, this geography. We've all got accustomed to an era where your customers and users, your internal customers, they expect you to be available 24/7, safe, and with performance. That is something which is driving the security layer around the transformation, security transformation around the way we are accessing the application. And we are seeing this in multiple organizations that, like Sara mentioned, that transformation today is not a choice. It's a compulsion. Either you do this or you become non-relevant. Because the traditional architecture has cost, it has got its own limitations, and I think the patience level of users have come down drastically. So in that way, what we see as Inspira, that where we are engaged in the discussions with multiple organizations, the progressive CIOs have all decided to adopt this, saying that they would be needing it in next 1-2 quarters, that they would have to kind of work on a security layer where they are able to provide services to their end customers, whether it is internal or external, in a safe, secure way, and maintaining the performance and maintaining the data integrity. A lot of interactions and a lot of excitement around this. The architecture or a framework is a guideline for all of us, where we could stick to a particular framework which is tested by multiple organizations and certifying bodies. So it gives you a broad level understanding of where we need to be, because security is such vast area that we can really be discussing and investing and implementing and still not be sure whether we are really secure. So that's where I think a framework like SASE is helping customers, the service providers like us, and also the OEM. So the solutions remain focused, because finally we are trying to answer these three simple questions: who is accessing, from where, and what.
Right. Awesome. This was a wonderful discussion. It was great to have your insights, Saravanan, today, and it was a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much, DK. Thank you so much, Sadanand, to have your inputs as well. It brings an end to our session. Thank you so much once again, and it was a pleasure to host you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sadanand.
Thank you, Khushbu.